Hello, and welcome to the Quantum Empowerment Alliance. My name is Christopher Moeller. I'm the CEO and founder of this organization, and also the Quantum Empowerment Coach and Trainer responsible for the core of the Quantum Empowerment Training University's curriculum. Though there will be a lot of other teachers and curriculum involved, I am the founder of this project as well, based on my work over the last several decades. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. It's bigger than that, but that's the core of it. I'll get into that later in my other videos and courses. Talking about myself is still a bit of a difficult issue for me, as I prefer not to talk about myself. So please bear with me. I have typed out a short script for the beginning of this and then an outline for everything else that I have to say. I'm typically uncomfortable for a short period, and then as I get into what I'm discussing, I stop being self-conscious and focus on what I'm sharing, and my natural heart state takes over, returning me to a natural, peaceful flow. So I'm in a little bit of a nervous pace at first, and then I'll relax and just flow into it. So just so you have a heads up, this is what's going to happen. I'm creating this today to answer a few important questions. Most everybody I talk to want to know who I am and what qualifies me to teach what I do. And so I will now share a brief overview. Not my life story. I know some people want to hear it and some people don't. But this is an outline of what really matters. The struggles we all face, which I have learned to overcome, which I now teach others to do as well. Some of what follows is very out of the box from mainstream preconceptions and experiences. At the very least, this may sound a bit like bragging, but nothing could be further from the truth. This is not about me. This is about helping you understand your full potential. I do not ask you to believe anything I say, nor should you do so without just cause. I am not more important than any of you. What I have learned and achieved is a natural result of many decades of dedicated study and practice, testing all relevant information to the best of my ability to prove to myself what is true as a Gnostic monk and student of human potential. Anyone can accomplish these things and much more if they go through this process. This is not an unknown process. The specifics of what I teach are rare, simply because this is rare knowledge that most people never take the time to really get to. Though, whether they realize it or not, this is, to a great extent, what they're here doing. It's just in much more mundane, slow-paced bits and pieces here and there throughout their lifetime ways. What I do is bringing it all to the conscious forefront and helping you accomplish this quicker, easier, and more effectively than anything that I've ever seen. I wouldn't be creating this if there was anything else quite like this out there. But I have spent a lot of time and effort learning, whether it be through research or from coaching and mentoring with people who live the kind of life that I've wanted to live, in order to be able to gather this information. And nobody seems to have all of it, at least not that I've met and I've seen in mainstream. And there's a reason for that. It's supposed to be that way. This is not mainstream information. And up until now, most people haven't been ready to handle this, and a lot of people probably still aren't. But as you'll find out, there is a significant shift going on right now. This is only the beginning of the latest phase of my work, bringing what I have learned to the masses. After more than a decade of private training of students, as part of our effort to help humanity rise to its feet and achieve what is even now being recognized as the greatest transformation in human history. Nothing like this has gone on before, not anywhere near close to what is happening. There are, of course, smaller, more limited growths that have happened in human history, but this is an unprecedented shift. So, what have I achieved that gives me the authority to teach anyone else? Well, I've categorized this a bit, and I'm putting a list of these different categories. Though it is preliminary, it'll probably grow. This is what I've come up with so far to share with you. The different categories of achievement based on the different categories that I teach. Since I'm directly addressing what qualifies me to teach these areas, there are, of course, some things that I've left out. And I go more into my backstory in other videos, which, of course, will be longer. But this is a short overview. When it comes to mental emotional health and self-defense as part of the empowered holistic health and ageless living category, I went from having mental emotional instability as a child, loneliness and abandonment at a young age, depression and suicidal tendencies, experiencing abuse and trauma, and of course the baggage, PTSD, and unhealthy relationships which came with them, including unhealthy, negative, and abusive, and even manipulative communication and language habits. And I learned to achieve mental emotional strength, self-defense, learning to both identify and understand mental weaknesses, manipulation, and abuse, and overcome all of the above. Excuse me. Learning to heal the PTSD and let go of the baggage, achieve loving understanding, forgiveness, and peaceful communication in existence, both personally within myself, as a relationship with myself, and also relationally with others. I also learned to identify and change my sleep patterns, empower myself using ancient and modern techniques, which allowed me to get deeper, better quality sleep, require less sleep, achieve unusual and limitless creativity in every area, both as an artist and as a practitioner of many other skills. Process challenges and find solutions while sleeping, literally overnight. There are specific techniques for that. Set up an idea to be enacted while I dream, including creating a story or dream, both in one night and over successive nights, based on the memory of those and that progress that I've made. I've also been able to learn while I sleep. I've learned to leave my body while sleeping and travel to other worlds. Again, this is the part where most people are highly skeptical and don't know what to think. But there is a science to this, and I will explain it in my classes and present a lot of scientific evidence, which we have now learned to gather, especially through recent technologies. And that's as far as we'll go on that for now. I've learned to remember what I dreamt. I've learned to lucid dream, take control of my dreams. I've learned to enter and, with permission, control other people's dreams, which is called dream blocking. It's also known as dream or mental world creation. Mental world self-defense. I have defended friends from dream invasion and attack, which is part of the permission aspect. I've also entered people's dreams and recreated them to show them what's possible, and to show them also that it is a very interactive world. A lot of people think of their dreams as just being in their heads. It's their own little personal creation, just a video in their mind. And that's not the case, otherwise I wouldn't be able to join them in it in the first place. And so these are various examples of support and education that I have used to be able to help my students. So that was the mental world. In the category of physical health and self-defense, I started from experiencing nearly constant illness and low immunity, also experiencing physical weakness. I learned to protect my body from toxins, achieve near constant health, and only become ill when overly stressed, as well as unusual physical strength, balance, flexibility, endurance, speed, and reflexes. I also went from being scared, lacking confidence and self-esteem, and being bullied, to being confident and acting fearlessly, respecting and even appreciating myself, protecting myself from others, learning to solve confrontations positively and create positive outcomes, even to the point of turning enemies into friends, or at least achieving peaceful coexistence if that wasn't possible. Some people are just not open to that. Spiritual health and self-defense. I went from spiritual weakness and defenselessness, dark side confrontation and fear, to spiritual strength, spiritual defense, spiritual power, which is offense, the ability to quickly resolve spiritual conflict in the same manner as previously addressed on the physical level, including the ability to befriend enemies, even what most people would call demons, dark elementals, and gods. I learned to achieve spiritually fulfilling happiness and peace, and spiritual fearlessness, though this did bring out some arrogance that created needless confrontation and injury. I learned to overcome it and regain sustained, peaceful existence and interactions. Empowering relationships. First and foremost with myself. In the personal development arena, we have a saying that goes back a long, long ways, that the only true mastery is mastery of self. Nobody is truly a master over somebody else. That would be slavery, and that is illusory and a violation of free will in most cases. There are exceptions, but I'm not going to get into that right now. That'll be explained in later presentations. But when it comes to my relationship with myself, I have learned to understand, forgive, love, and accept myself, something most people seem to believe they are incapable of achieving, or at best fail at, since they haven't been taught how to achieve that. With relatives and friends, I have learned to understand, forgive, love, and accept others, healing from emotional baggage from suffering, abuse, neglect, and abandonment. I have also learned to help others accomplish these things for themselves and with others. When it comes to my relationship with spouse and children, I have learned to overcome the detriments of my upbringing and heal the baggage and detrimental habits which came with them, becoming the loving partner and father I wanted to be, without the abuse and suffering common to most people, including my extended family. I don't know if that's clear. That sounded a little convoluted, but as is typical with most people on the planet, I live in a messed up world and society, and my family, like every other family, has learned detrimental habits of thought and action, and whether they understand what they're doing or not, they have become abusive, neglectful. As Einstein put it, we are born geniuses, and it is our education and our upbringing which interfere with that and take us off the divine natural path that we would follow if we were not interfered with, and lead us to believe that we are more limited and incapable than we really are. And it takes a lot to overcome that and to get rid of the habits that we learn to adopt because of the thinking and habits of the people around us. And it is a long and difficult journey when you're doing it on your own. But with proper guidance from somebody who has experienced these things already, you can actually overcome it in a relatively short amount of time. Depending on the severity, it can take months or years, but it takes decades to build this kind of stuff, so of course it's going to take time to work out. There's a lot in there. But I help you not only do this, but learn to do it yourself. I don't just tell you what to do. I actually guide you through the self-analysis process and teach you those processes so that you don't have to rely on me, that you can learn more and more independence and be able to do this on your own, and even help other people do it as well. Alright, so that covers the common relationships. Now the big one that a lot of people have trouble with. My relationship with Creator. Many people find this hard to believe, but just as is taught in the Bible and many other spiritual teachings throughout history, commonly known and unknown, it is possible to talk with God, pray and listen, meditate on Him, well enough to actually receive a response and even get to know Him. We have stories throughout spiritual texts throughout the world of people actually having conversations with God. We even have a more recent writer who has very well and extensively documented his conversations with God and the responses that he got, which were way out of his box. I've done some of that when it comes to documentation, but since I was a child, for as far back as I can remember, and I can prove that I remember back to before I was 3 years old, because I remember before my sister was born, and when I was 3 years old. Um, so it had to have been before that. I remember having conversations with him all the time naturally, more naturally than I'm having a conversation with you right now. And regardless of what name, title, or gender you've assigned to the source of all reality, it does exist. I have developed a wonderful, unfailing relationship with this being beyond any shadow of a doubt. He, quote unquote, because it's not really he or she, he's not, it doesn't have a gender. It's beyond this multiverse, and therefore beyond characteristic description based on our experiences here. So it's really difficult for us to put a finger on exactly what to call this source of all things, because it doesn't have characteristics we can relate to, because it's not part of this world. So the genderistic terms are simply for easy reference. It's not an accurate description by any stretch of the imagination. Sorry, it's a bit uncomfortable for me to talk about because a lot of people take issue with it and have a lot of resistance to it. And it brings up a lot of bad experiences for me. And my apologies for breaking pace. It has caused a lot of controversy and at times been very difficult for even me to accept, especially when asked to do things I didn't want to do, and doubly so risking my life. I've been put in many situations where I was to support other people in a way that would put my life on the line, including even coming out to the point of speaking this kind of thing publicly. I was afraid of getting killed. Most of the people throughout history who have been open about the fact that they talk with God, whether you're talking about Christ or St. Francis of Assisi or many, many others, are at best abused and at worst killed. Well, actually, that's debatable. I don't know that death is worse than torture, but it depends on how long it happens, I guess. But most people wouldn't understand that stuff. Anyways, it's been a long and difficult path, but this being of love and peace is the solid foundation of my being and my relationship with my spiritual wife. I know that it is difficult for many to accept due to their own biases from past experiences. And I don't try to force my beliefs on anyone, only share with those who I am here to help and let them do with it what they will. It's not my job to convince anyone of anything, only share my knowledge and experiences with those who are ready. It doesn't have to be part of my coaching work I do with any of my students. It is optional. We don't have to talk about how I know what I know or where I get my information in order, well, some of my information, obviously, I have a lot of different sources, but it doesn't really matter who taught me these things. What matters is whether or not they are relevant to your life. Just as studying the Bible doesn't require you to believe in anybody who makes claims about it, or any specific source of it. What matters is the information and whether or not it's beneficial to you. In the same way, you don't have to believe these extraordinary claims. All you need to focus on are the principles that I teach and the systems and techniques that I teach relevant to your life? Are they beneficial for you? Will they help you in accomplishing your goals and creating the kind of life that you want to have and being the kind of person that you want to be? That's really all that matters. As Yogananda put it, it's a practical spirituality. It is practical learning because it's all about growth. You don't have to overcomplicate things with the bigger picture in order to be able to just focus on learning how to grow. All right, so when it comes to empowering finances, making a living, I have used the wisdom gathered from books and mentoring under successful entrepreneurs. I have overcome poverty and even homelessness and being abandoned by both parents due to their own mental emotional issues. I created a spare time business which, while only in my 20s, culminated in achieving my lifetime goal of being paid a full-time income equivalent to and then greater than the middle class income my father brought in at the height of his time with us, working overtime and swing shifts in order to do that. While for me, having enough time, free time, to accomplish what he did not, and that is having time for quality experiences with friends and family. Um, my dad did his best, as did my mother. They did what they felt they needed to do to create the kind of life that they could, um, but didn't leave a lot of time for us kids. And I chose to learn to do it better. Um, I'll get into how another time, but you can create your life however you want to a great extent. Obviously, there are societal limitations, but a lot of people hear about the success of other people and they think, well, they're just lucky. They were spoon-fed. They got a better living environment. And that's often not the case. I've been trained by people with great success from all around the world and all different backgrounds and walks of life, and most of them were ordinary people who chose to do things differently, chose not to give up on their dreams, and chose to learn from people who experienced success themselves, because that's, of course, the best way to learn, the fastest, easiest way to learn, um, not from traditional education, because traditional education doesn't have properly qualified, experienced teachers teaching you what they know. They are teaching you how to study a book. And 9 times out of 10, that's all you get. And you don't get good guidance. You don't get in-depth knowledge. You don't get currently relevant knowledge. That information has been proven to be decades out of date. And so I do not follow traditional education. I find it to be a slow waste of time. And I, like many of these people, including the millionaires and billionaires that I've been trained by, study from people who have actually proven through their life that they have succeeded in the areas that I want to succeed in. And I learn from them how they do that in currently relevant ways. So, I retired in August of 2008 at the age of 27 years old, having been paid up to $2,000 an hour for my services, knowledge, and guidance, having personally made over $30,000 in professional services sales in less than a month, helping a business owner achieve more than doubling her business in under 2 years, amounting to a net income of around $60,000 in less than 9 months of spare time work at the time of retirement. And by that I mean 10 to 20 hours a week maximum. There are times I worked as little as 8 to 10 hours a week. Yeah, I guess that's about all that needs to be said there. When it comes to money management, budgeting, not only did I learn from a young age how to budget, but I successfully taught and still teach others. When it comes to investing, I put these in 2 main categories: investing in yourself and investing in others. The best investment you can make is in your own opportunities to learn and grow. By investing in myself, I have achieved more of my goals than anyone I know, a more enjoyable life than anyone I know, a better financial status than any family members and most friends I know, and things most people either don't believe they're capable of or don't even believe are possible. People, of course, operate mostly on rumor and theory rather than fact, and so they create artificial limitations for themselves based on the ignorance and assumption of other people. When you learn from people who actually have experience, you find that often the people who achieve the most have also achieved experiences that are completely out of the box that most people wouldn't believe are even possible, including when it comes to involving themselves in activities from other realities and extrasensory perception. Now, I'll get into that in detail in my classes, as well as the outlines that you'll find on the curriculum that I teach in the areas that I've studied. Now, when it comes to investing in other people, I have created enough abundance to often invest money and other resources into other people, helping them to raise their understanding and quality of life, often sustainably, though not always. Let's see. Empowering educational principles, techniques, and technologies. I have studied the science of empowered learning, learning rare secrets to empowered learning, learning correctly, which have enabled me to learn more, faster, and easier than most people. I have also learned the science of empowered teaching. I have applied only a fraction of the learning techniques to teach others due to limited time and other resources, yet still been able to help people accomplish in a relatively short time what has taken others many times longer. To give you an example, often in my coaching and training, I am told that the growth that they experience is often something they've been spending years trying to accomplish, and I have helped them to accomplish and understand more in minutes or hours than their other teachers and coaches have been able to accomplish, or in some cases when it comes to the counseling and therapy aspects, more than any other psychologist, psychotherapist has been able to accomplish with them in years or even decades. I've literally been told that I help somebody more in 15 to 45 minutes than their shrink, for lack of a better word, had been able to accomplish with them in decades. For example, I had a young lady who told me this about 15 to 20 minutes into our conversation and had been working with a shrink for 12 years. Because I am out of the box, because I study more than just traditional Western psychology, I study both scientific and spiritual information from around the world. I have learned techniques and perspectives which go beyond tradition in our country today, which is a European tradition. It's just an extension of the British mindset. And learn to accomplish things that most people can't even get access to because they don't believe it's possible. They don't think in accurate ways. They don't think outside the box in very specific ways. And even just giving somebody perspective can change how they think and therefore how they work in a matter of minutes. Overcoming years of bad habits just because they learn that there are better ways to do things. Ways that they couldn't see before. It can be relatively quick and easy, but most people don't have the knowledge to be able to help people like that. All right, so that's an example of empowered teaching. Now we'll move on to general superhuman potential. Superhuman awareness, superconsciousness, and related abilities. By studying the multidimensional sciences, applying both ancient and modern techniques and technologies, and learning from practitioners and trainers achieving some of the highest levels of success in many arenas, including martial arts and Olympic-level sports, I have achieved control over my mental, spiritual, and physical bodies and energies, facilitating superhuman awareness and amplification of all physical senses, unusual strength for my build, fitness level, and minimal exercise, unusual reflexes, control over bodily functions, including amplified healing and spontaneous remission of injuries and illness, the ability to put my body to sleep at will, body temperature control, and heart rate control. That's control over the bodies and energies. When it comes to multidimensional awareness and self-defense, I have intuitive access to information commonly inaccessible and unknown. I have accomplished telekinesis, movement of objects without physical interaction, telepathy, the sharing of information on the mental energy level, empathy, the ability to feel the emotions or emotional energies of others, psychometry, the ability to read information stored in the various levels of energy field of an object, subtle or spiritual energy and mental energy control and self-defense, the ability to leave my body at will and interact with other levels, worlds of energy and experience. Third category, mind over matter. When it comes to changing matter, I have the ability of seemingly clearing toxins from substances. To clarify that a little bit, I'll give you an example. There are certain chemicals which have been put in our water and food, which I and many others, especially of tribal blood, um, are adversely affected by. These substances act as poisons, and in a lot of cases this is general. High fructose corn syrup would be one of the most commonly known and commonly troublesome examples. And Stanford University has definitively proven that it is a neurotoxin. MSG would be another example. It's one of the food additives I am most reactive to. Within seconds, literally less than a minute, sometimes as little as 15 seconds, depending on the level and potency. I have experienced migraines, and I feel like my neck is in a vice, and I start getting lightheaded and disoriented and not being able to think clearly. I have been able to use energetic cleansing techniques, what Christians would call blessing their food, to clean both liquid and solid substances of these toxins, at least to enough of an extent that I have no significant reaction to it, when these would literally make me ill. Healing facilitation for others. I mentioned earlier already that I was able to achieve spontaneous healing and remission myself of many illnesses. Once I learned to do that, I asked for the ability to do that for other people, and subsequently was given a set of teachers who were able to teach me how to do that, and even train other people to do so, to the point that my most recent student became paralyzed due to a bone spur impinging on her spine. I was able to immediately relieve those symptoms, and then give her a crash course in self-healing, and literally get rid of the bone spur. She before that point, not only was she experiencing greater and greater problems, distortions of her ability to actually be able to control her body, but she could actually feel the bone spur in her neck. And once I taught her how to do this, and we did a self-healing session together, she couldn't feel it anymore. It was gone, and all symptoms disappeared. She had been having trouble more and more each day, till that morning when she literally woke up paralyzed. And she called me, and I was able to help her within seconds gain full control and feeling of her body. She literally couldn't control anything from the neck down. The bone spur was in the back of her neck. I think it was around the second or third vertebrae when she showed me where it was. And from there down, she had no control, mostly numbness. I think she may have been able to move her finger by doing some basic energy work I had already taught her. She was able to move one or two fingers on one hand, slightly, not fully, and that was it. She couldn't get up, she couldn't move her limbs. And so, yeah, went from that to being cured, having no more symptoms, just completely gone. Another one is seemingly changing the density or gravity of objects, including my own body. I haven't fully achieved levitation, only because when I start to, it throws my balance and equilibrium out of whack, and I haven't been able to compensate for that problem. It disrupts me too much, and I lose focus. I lose concentration. I haven't been able to overcome that yet. But yeah, there are other examples that I've thought of before. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but that would be one of the most obvious ones. Manifesting. People have been talking a lot about that for years, especially since the DVD The Secret came out. There are various versions of that DVD and various explanations of those teachings. Some of them are accurate, some of them are not. I have studied those extensively. I have figured out how this works and learned to use it in my life to be able to draw both people and situations into my life experience that I desire. And I've also learned what gets in the way, which is the key piece that most people don't understand, as well as the specific combination of factors that is required to make this work, which most people don't understand and why a lot of people haven't had a lot of success. There are key principles involved which were stated, but sometimes accidentally contradicted in the specific wording that was being used in that documentary, and so it confused a lot of people. And so I had to learn to sort those facts and find the science behind it, the literal science of how this stuff works, in order to be able to pick apart and understand where most people's interpretations have gone wrong. All right, when it comes to empowering professional growth and potential, empowering leadership, management, psychology, and technique, I have learned to teach and lead a team of unusual levels of success and ability to achieve goals, even if we have conflicting personalities. That's one of the most difficult things with management, is to deal with people who have what would be called difficult or conflicting personalities. People who are temperamental, have issues with authority, things like that. Not only have I learned to lead and manage, but I've also learned to train and retrain, and be able to facilitate peaceful coexistence, become an arbitrator, that kind of thing. Empowered organization creation and management. I have learned to create and run both businesses and other types of organizations, including, of course, my not-for-profit school that I'm launching, and the Alliance Network that I've created, which is not even a official entity. It's just a network organization, an Alliance Network, a community, basically. I am a 5-time certified entrepreneur trained by Fortune-level trainers, including a few millionaires and billionaires. I have been a successful entrepreneur for over a decade, providing services to many well-known corporations. You can see our website for some examples of that on the front page. The graphics of the brands that I've worked with, I and my teams. Let's see. I feel like there's something else that I should say there that's not in my notes. My nervousness has thrown me a little out of intuitive flow. Oh, in being an entrepreneur, which I have been since 2004, I completely stopped being an employee of any corporation. I've been working completely on my own, supplying my own income. I have chosen to keep my income low most of the time, though I did spend several years making netting $50,000 to $65,000 a year, working in my spare time. Can't remember if I went into that in this. I think I did, but I wanted to, guided to emphasize that again, to help you understand that it's not just about quantity, it's about quality of life. One of the things that impinges on our lives a lot and creates the 95% needless suffering that we experience in the world is due to overcomplication and not giving ourselves this time, space, and experiences that we need. It has been proven through studies of people in prison that we are very social beings. We need to be social. We need social interaction, and we need certain types of experiences to grow, and we need to be able to grow. Our soul, our heart, whatever you want to call it, we are driven to, we absolutely have to have growth. If we experience stagnation, if we get caught up in the rat race and we're not growing as a person, we're not pursuing what we're here to pursue, um, our life purpose, as they call it, even though most people's conceptions of that are very, very limited and not quite accurate. We can't be happy. We suffer. And we feel like we're going nowhere. And that our lives and even we ourselves are pointless. Now, of course, that's not true, but how we're going about life is often pointless because we're doing it wrong and not giving ourselves what we need. We're not living the life we came here to live. And so all that's required is simply understanding this and understanding how to change it in order to be able to create the kind of life that you want. You really can create a living out of anything. You just have to do it in ways that most people don't know how to do. And don't put in the time, effort, and dedication that it takes to learn and achieve that. And learn to achieve that. Okay, so last but not necessarily least, applied technologies. When it comes to business, I have done a lot in the area of product development. I have had 10 years of success as an advertising marketing materials developer, also as an artist in drawing, painting, and illustration, web animation and video production. I've spent 15 years plus in the software and IT development and management arenas. Personal and management success including graphic and graphic interface design, 2D and 3D graphics, both still and animated, web software development, as a mentee of a Fortune level web developer entrepreneur. Remember, I don't do traditional education. Fortune level training through other organizations including Adobe and lynda.com, which are the standard for graphic and multimedia and web design. Also as an independent entrepreneur and contractor developing websites and information products. In computer development and training, as a mentee of the owner of a chain of 14 computer stores, trainer of both computer techs and end users and organizations, and to separate those two to make sure I make that clear, being a mentee to the computer store chain owner is separate from the fact that I have been a successful trainer of both computer techs and end users, both individual and organizations of users, training people to use and maintain their computers. I've achieved success as an independent entrepreneur and contractor, managing a team as well, developing custom computers, installing and maintaining computer systems for residential end users, local small businesses, and major corporations, even with international contracts. I mean, not international, national contracts, not just state. Let's see, so that's applied technologies. Now obviously with organization management, this gets into a lot of different areas, business launch and strategy, fundraising, advertising, marketing, branding, all kinds of stuff. Legal aspects, of course. I was a legal broker for a while. But this gives you a bit of an overview of the successes that I've experienced. And I'll have, along with this, a list of specific subjects and categories of study and experience. It's extensive, and a lot of it is interrelated due to the specific areas of study, both in personal and professional human potential studies. Some of this may not sound like it's related, like archaeology, but if you don't understand where you came from, you cannot understand why society or you are the way they are. um, your friends, your family, it's all interrelated. You can't really fully understand individual psychology without studying sociology, which is the psychology of society. Um, how we got here, why we are the way they are, how to change it. In order to be able to find solutions for today's problems, we have to understand how we created them and how to solve them. And so um, those areas of study, as well as other curiosities, including, ET, extraterrestrial issues, and trying to study the beings that have interacted with us throughout history, which is absolutely fascinating. And there's a lot more scientific evidence for the unusual and the often skeptical than most people think. There's a lot of cynics out there who just refuse to review the evidence, but in fact there is a tremendous amount of evidence. But that relates to technology, archaeology, and the history of our planet in many, many ways, and I won't get into all of that right now. I go into that extensively in my trainings because it's an integral part, a key aspect of understanding our society, um, why we've gone down the paths that we have, why we've been so warlike, why we have the kind of technology that we do without the mental emotional maturity and understanding of how to use it properly, how to use it in beneficial ways rather than destroying each other. And this, of course, all relates to how to solve our problems and create the kind of not only individual lives, but societal and global lives and experiences that we want, creating a positive growth and sustainable beneficial community locally and globally. So I hope that wasn't too convoluted. There are various different aspects of this that have made me uncomfortable because of the unpleasant experiences that I've had around them. I haven't cleared all the PTSD, though I don't get caught up in it. It does disrupt me a little bit, disrupt my focus. And so this has been a little bit less divinely flowing than I would like, but I hope this helps. And it shows you that I'm human, I'm not perfect. I still have areas that I'm working on and growing. But I have accomplished a lot. I have accomplished a lot of things most people aspire to, both in developing themselves and their relationships with other people, both personally and professionally. And so if you're looking to grow in these areas, both on this and other pages, I have extensive information. And this video will be on YouTube along with a lot of others, and you'll be able to replay it and review it, and the other presentations, and get a bit better idea of my background and how I can help you, and how my organization can help you. It's not just me. I share a lot of information. My curriculum is not just my own writings and teachings. I incorporate into my curriculum materials and books and educational presentations from many, many others. I include in my trainings access to libraries of knowledge, entire libraries of knowledge around the world over the internet. And there's more than enough information to keep you busy for decades if you really wanted to go through and learn all this stuff. I mean, the information that I've gotten access to and that I share is just, it's mind-boggling. I have to buy bigger and bigger hard drives to store even the stuff that I am saving on my computer, let alone the massive archives of information that we have to offer you access to and an understanding of. Even if you've found some of these libraries and been reading some of these books, that doesn't mean you understand the principles and how to apply them. And that's the biggest thing. And that's the main thing that you need a teacher and coach for, a coach or mentor and trainer for, is learning how to apply them. I mean, people read books and go to seminars all the time, and their lives don't change. Because number one, they don't know how to learn powerfully and actually get it to stick. They don't know how to rewrite their thinking. They don't know how to rewrite their habits. They don't know how to really live this information, and transform themselves. They don't know how to create an environment that's going to help them do so. They don't know how to create a support structure. They don't know how to get involved with organizations. They don't know of organizations or how to get involved with organizations which will help them do that. They don't know how to create the funding structures that will be able to help them do that. There's just so much that goes into it, no matter what you want to do, whether you want to just better yourself in your career, whether you want to create a different career, whether you want to create a business or an organization, um, whether you want to create a family or just date. There are so many ways in which this information applies. It applies to every area of life because it applies to the very foundation of how we think and how we act and how we create our life. And the real science of why and how is very rare, not commonly understood at all, let alone taught. And that's what I've taken the time to really gather in ways that most people can't, because I don't require a whole lot of sleep, and I have learned how to find and manifest the information and sources of that information. And I've learned from so many people. Um, and through my work, you'll be able to get access to some of those people and their knowledge. A lot of my favorite teachers, of course, don't waste time recreating the wheel and recreating the trainings of. I haven't yet taken the time to network with them much. Have gotten in contact with a few of them or tried to. But my plan is to bring them into our organization, partner with them through alliances and joint ventures, and give you deeper levels of access to them and their information, beyond just the information in books that I share, and really go deeper and give you greater access to the wisdom of the world, the wonderful things that we've learned and discovered and been able to practice and prove, that are way beyond what you've been taught, and teach you how to live extraordinary, even superhuman lives. So I hope you've enjoyed this and found it interesting. I wish you well along your journey. You have a wonderful rest of the day and week. Namaste. Oh, and for those who don't know what that means, it simply means I bow to and respect the place in which you and I are all one. Whether you're coming from a Christian or Buddhist or whatever perspective. Through all spiritual traditions and now in science, it has been well stated and proven that we are all interconnected. Whether you want to call it spirit or energy, we're now proven to be very interconnected and affect each other, not only locally but globally. And I'll get into that in my presentations. I've just recently actually done another training on that, getting an update on the latest scientific research in those areas. We've developed wonderful technologies and techniques to be able to measure and prove and apply that knowledge to create greater and greater levels of empowered action and success cooperatively. So that's what that means. That's what Namaste means. We're all connected, and I respect that, and I acknowledge that, and I acknowledge that you and I aren't really that different. And your future and your success is my future and my success, because we're all in it together. And the rising tide raises all ships. And that's the idea. Not only create better lives for ourselves, but for our families, our children, and generations to come. Thank you.